Hey, I'm going to speak a little bit here about the subject of road rage in China. Um, I hadn't actually been intending to do this. I was going to make a video about another subject, but I ended up watching a few clips and I was just seeing a report on CNN, so that is the context here. Um, the report on CNN, they were talking about the general problem, but they quoted a well-documented case recently whereby in a road rage incident, a woman had cut in front of a man, and the man, at an intersection, I believe, dragged her from her seat, and then sort of chucking her around the road like a rag doll. Um, I've always had contempt for men who use violence against women in that sort of way. Not contempt with throwing her around. This card then kicked her on the face several times, and it was quite unpleasant to watch. And well, it was completely an overreaction. She wasn't entirely innocent. It looked like she had been doing some pretty bad driving herself, but it brings about some questions about a wider issue. Incidentally, Rosemary Church of CNN chucked her own personal opinion in there, which I don't necessarily agree with. Although I agree with what she said that the guy went way overboard, I don't think it's a place for newsreaders to be throwing in personal opinions. And actually, my next video will be about that subject partly. But just a few comments about this subject. Um, First of all, why the focus on China for this video or the subject in general? Well, the first thing I want to say about that is that obviously this is a problem worldwide. There are people all over the world who just feel a boiling point coming through, and in many cases I've heard this is a sort of these aren't necessarily violent people naturally, but there's something about being in that situation that makes people go over the edge. It could be the terrible driving of others. It could be that they feel that they've been pushed over, so to speak. They've lost face. It could be a wide range of things. But anyway, I'm focusing specifically here on China, because this is a huge problem in China. It is a worldwide problem, but it is apparently a specifically bad problem in China, with as many as 100 million incidents in recent years. 100 million, and that's just the reported incidents. I mean, that is staggering. Even in a country that probably now has tens of millions of cars, that is still absolutely staggering. 100 million incidents in recent years. Um, there's a lot of videos going on around cyberspace. There's plenty of videos from the United States, from the UK, from other countries as well. But like so much of China, there is a particular interest in it because I think there's a generally quite a big interest in the world in Chinese social issues from not just from Western countries, from a lot of people. So why is this a particular phenomenon in China? Firstly, I don't want to talk too much about the actual rules, i.e., of being a driver or, traffic laws or anything like that, because I'm not a driver myself. I don't drive, so I can't really directly relate to that. And I'm not familiar with what's illegal and what's not, although some of it will be common sense sort of stuff. But I don't want to talk so much about that. I want to talk about how people can be so desensitized that, for example, a guy could throw around a girl like that, like a rag doll. Um, and apparently what had happened was initially a lot of people had defended the girl and condemned him, but then when they saw her bad driving, they turned against her. Personally, I think it's a case of two wrongs don't make a right. If she was driving dangerously, then well, she's putting lives at risk. But he doesn't do himself much credit by beating up a woman. Well, beating up anyone is bad, but especially a defenseless woman. And as a man, I do have a thing about that because it's the act of a card, basically. Um, if she was driving dangerously, could have remonstrated her with in a different way or reported to the police. But of course, that's a bit naive in a country like China because partly because of corruption and also because the police simply cannot do everything at once. in any country, even in an authoritarian country like China, the police cannot be expected to do every single thing at once. So this is where road rage incidents happen. I think it's a dangerous situation when you have so much congestion. But I think I also watched a clip from a user called Loser Lawai in China, and he quoted the one-child policy being a factor in this, and I agree with him. I think that probably the one-child policy has had a side effect in producing a nation of spoiled brats. And if you're Chinese, please don't get offended by that because I'm not talking about everyone. But if you look at these videos, a lot of Chinese themselves say this is a big problem in China. Um, but what I mean about the one-child thing is that because so many families do just have one child, it is developed this phenomenon of little princes and princesses who grow up thinking that they could do whatever they want. And I've personally seen this. I have encountered children who are definitely spoiled in China and definitely um, not uh, not sort of, but well, put it this way, you can see they're developing these very selfish characters, and this is not a universal thing, but it is definitely a phenomenon, and I think it is a side effect of the one-child policy. Now, the government, to be fair, it's trying its best to, like so many things, they're trying to make policies to improve the situation. I've heard of anti-anger management classes, driving schools, and so on. It's a bit like the tourism thing with the reports of Chinese tourists behaving bad abroad. The Chinese government's trying to play its role in improving this behavior. But I find that all the problems that China has socially, it's sort of the government has reaped what it has sown in a sense. And that's not saying, that's not blame them for everything. I think people are responsible for their own actions, and these adults are responsible for their own actions. But the one-child policy definitely has a factor in this. But then again, you can't sort of say that is the only explanation because, like I say, you do have road rage in other countries. You know, America has no one-child policy, and other Western countries have no one-child policy. Brazil doesn't. And you know, I'm sure you could find plenty of road rage incidents in most countries. Um, it is quite scary in that situation when, for example, it's a traffic jam and you have some person who can't control their temper. And you know, the thing is, if you're in a traffic jam, you've potentially hundreds of people, and if you get any group of hundreds of people, you're going to get a few people who are not all that mentally stable. And in a country like China, which doesn't have great treatment for mental illness, you're going to have a situation whereby people will blow their casket, and potentially you're going to see a lot of these incidents. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some murders as well, because it's a powder keg situation. So when I see things like this, I'm very grateful that I don't drive. Even in a country like the UK, because believe me, we have our fair share as well. We've had a few high-profile cases of road rage murders in the last 20 years or so. Um, I think I don't know if it's because people feel they're losing face or they feel rage that they feel their own life has been put in danger. I mean, I don't blame people for being angry if they feel another driver has done something that is extremely dangerous. So don't blame them for being angry. But the whole point here is about how you control that anger. Now, how that guy responded was way out of line. I mean, there's probably even worse examples than that. That's just a particularly high profile one. But, you know, he didn't gain much sympathy by throwing a girl around like a rag doll. And then she didn't gain much sympathy when the video emerged of her driving recklessly. So this is a big phenomenon, and all I can say is, and please, I'm not a driver in China. If you are Chinese, let me know your thoughts on this. Um, you know, I'm talking about the wider issue of road rage, but I'm simply mentioning China because this is a big phenomenon there. I mean, 100 million reported incidents. That's incredible. If you're Chinese and you're a driver, let me know why do you think this phenomenon has come about? And just to clarify, I wasn't referring to all Chinese people, as if that wasn't obvious. When I said nation of brats, maybe I should have worded that a little bit better. But I think the point is clear that this is a big phenomenon, and it's a side effect from perhaps from the one-child policy. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree? And if you disagree, I'd be interested to know your opinion as to why this is such a big problem. Is it because people are now, is it because they're under more pressure in their lives? Maybe the, working life is a bigger phenomenon. I mean, it would be interesting to see if road rage incidents are higher in urban areas than they would be in the countryside. Um, Certainly the videos I've seen seem to all be in urban areas. You rarely see this in rural areas, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Um, Let me know your thoughts. Cheers.